Sometimes it's difficult to evaluate the validity and credibility of a resource. Once you find a piece of information, you need to critique it to evaluate whether or not it is useful for your research. The following will help you learn how to evaluate sources and choose those that are current, relevant, authoritative, accurate, and purposeful, or CRAP for short. Currency refers to whether or not the information is timely. So ask yourself, does your topic require current information? Or will older sources work as well? If current information is required, you'll need to ask yourself the following questions as you evaluate your sources. When was it published or posted? If you're looking at a website, are the hyperlinks functional? Has the information and/or website been revised or updated? If yes, when? As you can see, it's easy to figure out when something was published, but sometimes if you're working on a topic that happened very recently, you won't be able to find many scholarly, peer-reviewed sources. That's because the peer review process takes time, sometimes years, to have an article published. Relevance refers to how closely connected or appropriate something is for your research. When trying to determine whether a piece of information is relevant to your topic, ask yourself the following. Does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Who is the intended audience? For example, is it geared towards academics, the general population, industry experts, etc.? Is the information at an appropriate level, meaning is it too elementary or too advanced for your needs? And lastly, have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one that you will use? While it's possible that some of the things you find will match some of the CRAP test requirements, these questions will help you to determine whether or not a piece of information is relevant to your project. However, it's ultimately up to you to decide what type of information source you need and what you will be using the information for. For example, let's say you're writing a paper on chocolate. This article on current chocolate buying trends in Asia might be relevant to your paper if you're interested in the amount of chocolate consumption around the world, but not if you're looking at the history of chocolate production. Authority refers to the trustworthiness of the source of the information. It is especially important to consider the authority of information on the internet. Like, who is the source? Does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? For example, a website ending in .com might have current relevant information, but they might be interested in selling you something. While a website ending in .gov is a government source, and a site ending in .org is usually a nonprofit organization. Regardless of the URL, pay attention to the kinds of websites that link to the source, like who is the sponsor? Who's the author? What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Is the author qualified to write on the topic? Who is the publisher? Is there contact information, such as a publisher or email address? What do others say about this source, author, publisher, and/or online source? FYI, it's okay to Google the author's name, the publisher, and/or the website. Doing so can help you learn more about the source. Let's take the author of this article on sweatshops. When we Google him, we find that he's a professor of political philosophy at the University of San Diego, who frequently publishes papers on exploitation. Accuracy refers to the reliability, truthfulness, and correctness of the information. When determining accuracy, you need to consider: where does the information come from? Is the information supported by evidence? Has the information been peer-reviewed? Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? Does the language or tone seem unbiased and free of emotion, i.e., is it objective rather than subjective? Are there spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? Does the publication or website include links and/or references and citations? Does the website or page include links and/or references to any other sources used to compile the information? Would those links pass the CRAP test? Let's say your search led you to this site. As we go through it, we can tell that the source is not authoritative. The author works at a fake research institute. And we can also see that the article is not peer-reviewed. Purpose refers to the reason the information exists. Everyone has opinions or ideas about a topic, which is why it's important to think about the motive behind the person who provided the information in order to properly evaluate the resource. Here are some questions to help. What is the purpose of the information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? Do the authors or sponsors make their intentions or purposes clear? Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Does the point of view appear objective and impartial? Are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases in evidence? Bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. It demonstrates an ideological standing, or it means that the author is trying to persuade you about something. Let's take this article by BP, the oil company responsible for the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. Do you think BP has a bias when discussing the Gulf of Mexico? And that's how you go about evaluating sources.